You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major!
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they release. We are on our Geffen Pictures mini-series. My name is Kevin Tudor. I am here with Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
And our super special guest, returning guest, is Michelle O'Connell. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me again.
What was last time? Last time you were on for...
We talked about Decline of Western Civilization 2 and Tougher Than Leather.
Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah, Tougher Than Leather. How could I forget?
Yeah. At my job, someone was playing Run DMC on their speaker, and I was tempted to say, like, oh, have you seen Tougher Than Leather? I was very tempted to mention that, and I was like, why would I recommend this? But
You don't have to ask, because the answer is no.
right.
You're the last people to have seen Tougher Than Leather.
But today we are here to talk about Little Shop of Horrors from 1986, released on December 19th, 1986, at number 4 in 866 theaters, maxed out at 1,183 theaters, nominated for 2 Oscars for Best Visual Effects and Best Original Song for Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. Budget was $30 million. I also saw $25 million. Insane. Opening weekend, 3.6 million, and domestic and overall gross of 38.9 million. Top 5 films that weekend, The Golden Child.
Awful.
Really? Yeah, I have not seen that.
One of Eddie Murphy's worst movies, honestly. As bad as many things he did, like, in his late career where he wasn't trying.
Yeah, like that and, like, is it The Distinguished Gentleman, or 2 movies where I'm just like, yeah, those will be, like, once I've watched every Eddie Murphy movie, besides, like, his, like, 2010 garbage, but...
That one I haven't seen, but yeah, The Golden Child is, like, a real low point for Michael Ritchie, who I'm a big fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Number 2 is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
That one's good.
3 Amigos.
Been a long time.
Little Shop of Horrors. And Heartbreak Ridge.
As a big Clint Eastwood fanatic, that is one I can't really get on board with. It's all about him trading a bunch of Marines for the super essential invasion of Grenada.
Casual, okay.
I think I maybe got like 40 minutes into that on DVD, and I was like, I'd rather be like taking a nap than watching this.
This is kind of a weak box office, I would say. Number 1 song in the US this week, Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bengals. Hell yeah. Number 1 song in Canada this week, Stand By Me by Ben E. King. We all know.
Well, makes sense, because, that...
Release of the movie.
Again, we keep coming to pass this where it's just like, Stand By Me, we love it so much, that one song, it's all we want to listen to. Back in the day, it was awesome. Plot description from Google. Meek flower shop assistant Seymour, played by Rick Moranis, pines for co-worker Audrey, played by Ellen Greene. During a total eclipse, he discovers an unusual plant he names Audrey 2, which feeds only on human flesh and blood. The growing plant attracts a great deal of business for a previously struggling store. After Seymour feeds Audrey's boyfriend, Orin, played by Steve Martin, to the plant after Orin's accidental death, he must come up with more bodies for the increasingly bloodthirsty plant. I feel like you gave away like one and a half acts of this movie. I think you could have just cut it off by eats human flesh. I have doubt people would be like, what else happens? But,
I mean, even having not seen this movie before, I was like, when like Moranis like realizes that it's blood, like that the plant wants, and he's like, feeding the drip house. I'm like, it's only a matter of time before somebody else is going to end up in that plant. Yeah.
Based on the film by Roger Corman and Charles B. Griffin, which was turned into a play by Howard Ashman, who did the screenplay. Michelle, you said you rewatched the original or watched it for the first time?
I rewatched the original along with this. I've also seen a production of the musical, though it was quite some time ago. Had either of you seen either the original Corman or a version of the musical?
No.
No, my only real exposure to this was this is such a weird connection to it, but a few years back there was the Amazon rom-com I Want You Back with Charlie Day and Jenny Slate, and Jenny Slate's one of her subplots is that she's like helping out with like an elementary school production of Little Shop of Horrors, and she plays Audrey, and like it's like a little kid I think who plays Seymour, and like I think like they have like I think they do like the classic thing where it's like when there's like blood gushing, they have like just like the really long like red ribbon like pouring out of someone. That's like that was my exposure to this, and I guess also probably I think it's like the number where she dies or anything, so I kind of was like spoiled on that, I guess. But yeah, that was the most I'd been exposed to Little Shop of Horrors before this. And also I think I'd seen like a snippet of the Steve Martin dentist number where he's like drilling in someone's mouth and says, shut up. But that's it.
Michelle, when's the last time you thought about I Want You Back, the Amazon original feature film?
This is the first I've heard of it, I'll confess.
I mean,
perfectly charming. I or at least I thought so when I watched it like 4 years ago. But yeah.
Anyways, the original film, I'm just curious to how it is because all I know is that they filmed it in legitimately 2 days.
Or so the story goes. I understand they might have been rushing to beat some new union rules, which is a very Corman thing to do. I may be misremembering that, but yeah, it's interesting to see the contrast between the very low budget, one set, kind of overlit style of the original, which is very charming and fun, and the much more produced version that we see in this musical version of it, where it's kind of a throwback to MGM musicals, but with a B-movie twist and a very grungy twist to it.
Roger Corman, famously chilled dude. I was gonna, me and Sam wanted to watch is it Frankenstein Untold? Is that the 90s one?
Unbound, I think.
Unbound, yes. Apparently it's not bad, but I don't think it's ever escaped DVD. I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Directed by Frank Oz, most well known for his role with the Muppets, Sesame Street, and Star Wars, but directing-wise, prior to this, The Dark Crystal in 1982, the Muppets Take Manhattan in 1984. I watched that for the first time for this, and that is fine, I guess.
It's been a minute, but I have a lot of fondness for both of those.
After this, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels in 1988. What About Bob in 1991? Also after this, Bowfinger in 1999, which I watched for the first time, and it's cool. I didn't have that much high expectations. I was like, sure, why not? I did not know that Steve Martin wrote it. I did not know that before watching it.
And speaking of Eddie Murphy from earlier,
that's
like I think that's I guess I feel like that's considered one of his better movies from like around that time.
I really like Bowfinger and What About Bob and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Oz's other movies are a little more hit and miss.
Yeah, I watched What About Bob for the first time, and that was a pretty damn good time. Yeah. And the score in 2001, which I have to say my favorite trivia fact of all time, is that Marlon Brando kept calling Frank Ozzy Fozzie and Miss Piggy throughout the movie, to the point where it got so bad that De Niro had to direct Brando instead, with Oz giving him instructions via headset. I would have just been like, no, get out of here. Quit calling me Fozzie Bear. And Death at a Funeral in 2007. Starring Rick Moranis as Seymour Curlborn. Never say his last name in the movie, at least I don't think so. Prior to this, 25 episodes of SCTV from 1980 to 1981, Strange Brew in 1983, Streets of Fire and Ghostbusters in 1984, Brewster's Million in 1985. After this, Spaceballs in 1987, Ghostbusters 2 in 1989. That is a weird movie. I watched that for the first time, and the whole movie is just one actor convincing another actor to make this movie. Please, they're paying us a lot. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in 1989, and My Blue Heaven in 1990 with Steve Martin again. I have not seen Strange Brew. I would like to see Strange Brew, but first I would like to see a lot of SCTV before watching that. Mm-hmm. Streets of Fire, maybe the greatest intro of all time.
The rest of the movie's pretty great too. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah.
Ellen Greene as Audrey. She played Audrey in the original play. After this, did Talk Radio in 1988, Pump Up the Volume in 1990, just could not escape radio movies. Naked Gun 33 and a third, The Final Insult in 1994, The Cooler in 2003, listen to our episode, 22 episodes of Pushing Daisies from 2007 to 2009, and 2 episodes of Bunheads in 2012, and 1 episode of Hannibal in 2013. Do not remember who she is in The Cooler. Do not ask me, Brad.
I do remember she's in that because I think Charlie like made a big thing about that where he was like, it's the woman who I think like works at the coffee shop. And like it's a thing where like, you know, at the start of the movie when Macy has like really bad luck, she like pours creamer into his coffee and like it's like, just none left. You just missed the last bit of creamer. And then when his luck turns good again, she like pours like the creamer and she's like, my goodness, we have enough and everything. It's like that's like the thing. I remember Charlie saying like, oh, it's Ellen Green from Little Shop of Horrors. No way. I guess like he hadn't recognized her at first because, you know, it'd been like, you know, a little over like, you know, 15 years since it's between those movies. But yeah.
No, I was saying I don't remember anything about the cooler.
Oh, I see.
So you're just saying all that. I was like, that was it a scene in the cooler? Who's to say? Bunheads I have not watched. I do need to watch that.
It's very fun. Yeah. I don't remember who she is in that, but it's probably like a one-off episode. But yeah, that's a really fun show. I was just thinking the other day about the episode where the two kids are trying to one-up each other to impress a girl by doing dueling impressions of Tommy Lee Jones and Hope Springs, which is a really...
Hope Springs? Holy fuck. Damn. Steve Martin as Orin Skrev. You know what? It's just Orin. That's his name is. I'm going to highlight some of his lesser-known ones. Prior to this, Pennies from Heaven in 1981. Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid in 1982, and The Man with Two Brains in 1983. That's like a weird period. I don't know how profitable or memorable those were, but they don't seem to have that much cultural cachet as far as I know. Even though I've heard Pennies from Heaven is great.
Man with Two Brains and Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid are both Carl Reiner movies. He made the joke with Carl Reiner. And I think All of Me was also Reiner, so that was a recurring collaboration.
That's true. I'm famously stupid. I'm sorry. After this, LA Story in 1991, I do need to watch that. Grand Canyon in 1992, I'm pretty sure Michelle is the only person who has ever seen this movie.
Awful. Crash for another era.
Sergeant Bilko in 1996 just doesn't exist. And Novocaine in 2001, listen to our episode.
Where he also plays a dentist.
Oh, yeah. You could ask me, be like, hey, what happens in Novocaine? I'd be like, he's a dentist. That's all I remember.
I think that was like one where like recently I had to like ask you like, say, is this like a thing that happened in that movie? Or, like something that I'd seen something that must have like triggered a memory from that. And I was like, it's like we're the only ones who know.
Like, brother, you're the wrong person to ask. Also starring Vincent Gardena. I do believe Frank Oz basically said I hired him because his last name has Garden in it, and that's pretty awesome. Levi Stubbs, John Candy, Christopher Guest, Jim Belushi, and Bill Murray. And it's the only movie Bill Murray and Steve Martin are in together, which seems wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Gardenia had previously been Oscar nominated for Bang the Drum Slowly, a movie I don't like very much, and a year after this was up for Moonstruck, a movie I do like very much.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. John, I always forget John Candy's in this. Always forget.
I was so happy when I heard because he's introduced voice first, and then when I saw his face, I was like, I was so happy. I mean, I'm always happy to see John Candy. Yeah.
Apparently, he was offered the role of Mushnick and turned it down.
That would have been good. I mean, I like Gardenia in this.
I think Gardenia's a better fit, but
yeah. Trivia. There's a lot. Half of this is just about the ending, and there's a lot about the ending. But I'll try to go through this as quick as possible. David Geffen's original plan for the movie was a $6 million budget, produced by Steven Spielberg, and directed by Martin Scorsese. John Landis was also attached to direct at a certain point also. He shows up in Muppets Take Manhattan, our finest helicopter parent. As a part of the film's promotion, the Audrey 2 plant was occasionally interviewed in character by the press. On at least one occasion, the interview concluded with Audrey 2 eating the interviewer. That's not funny, that's murder. I'm just saying. The dentist's office originally was more grungy and blood splatter, but those details did not go over well with the test audiences. They sound like losers. The set was cleaned up and scenes reshot for the final film. They were just like, hey, we just need to clean it up, but also redo the entire fucking thing. At the time of its release in 1986, the film was the most expensive production by Warner Brothers Entertainment. That seems wild. With a budget of $25 million that even surpassed Aliens from the same year, which had a budget of $18 million. It was only made for $18 million. And I looked it up, and in inflation, it still made it like $55 million. If you told $55 million for Aliens? Did Bill Paxton get half of that budget? That blew my mind. But they were shot next door to each other at Pinewood Studios, which is interesting. The puppeteers were designed and operated The puppeteers who designed and operated Audrey 2 were veterans of the Jim Henson Company. One of the operators was Brian Henson, Jim's son. The young girl leaving the dentist's office with her jaws wired before Bill Murray's scene is Heather Henson, the daughter of Jim Henson. This film spawned a spin-off Saturday morning cartoon called Little Shop from 1991. It features Seymour and the entire gang along with Audrey 2, now a nicer plant, on Fox in the 90s starting in 1991. The show downplayed the horror element. In fact, Audrey 2 is simply just a talking plant. He doesn't need anybody.
I've never heard of this.
Yep. None of the film's cast participated in the cartoon show. This is 2 movies, this miniseries that got children cartoon spin-offs, this and Beetlejuice, which is wild. I believe there was like a good amount of episodes too. Well,
You forgot the personal best cartoon.
the personal best Nintendo video game also. What else here? The two of the Greek chorus girls, Tichina Arnold and Tisha Campbell, would later go on to star together in Martin, who's Gina and Pam, I believe. Let's go through the original ending. The original ending was Audrey and Seymour both getting eaten by Audrey 2. Then we get an ending of multiple Audrey 2s run amok the town with massive explosions and ends with them on top of the Statue of Liberty. Test audiences did not like this downer ending. Again, losers, even though it was the original ending for the stage play. Oz described the first test screening saying you need a 55% recommended score for your film to be released, and we got a 13. That seems... then they tried again and got a worse reaction. The problem is the original ending took over a year to make and cost millions, but they went back in and did a quick, happy ending. There was the theatrical version, which most people know, where both the characters survive and Audrey 2 gets electrocuted into dust. Audrey and Seymour get married, but their new house has a garden where a little Audrey 2 plant is slowly growing. When the film was originally released on DVD in 1998, a special feature was the original ending, but it was black and white, no score, work print quality. David Geffen hated this so bad, he got the DVD recalled, which that makes it the first DVD to ever be recalled. He was also upset because he always wanted to reissue the film in theaters with the original ending, but Warner said no. So once the DVD was released, he felt he would never get into theaters again. He didn't even have the original ending, and neither did Warner Brothers, so it's very funny. But in 2011, a small restoration team tracked down existing negatives and were able to assemble the intended cut. Frank Oz was so happy by that the original cut had been found, he approved it as a director's cut. Oz was not happy about changing the ending that Warner Brothers and everybody approved of. He couldn't figure out why the ending worked in the play and not in the movie. He said because the play ends with a curtain call and with all the actors a nice send-off. There's also slight differences between the play and the film, but we got the ending we got. In the original ending, Judge just kind of end with a, well, all right. Even if the theatrical ending feels like cobbled together, which it was.
It was just interesting, the curtain call thing. Like, I don't know. I guess it's like, where like the actors come out and everything. It's like, I mean, they kind of do that. I mean, at least in the director's cut that I watched, where it just shows like all of the actors like smiling when they go by, kind of. And it's funny whenever a movie does that. I mean, people point out it's like when you have like even when it's like a really intense movie like Predator or Con Air, it'll be like, look at all these actors smiling, even though most of them have been like horribly killed and everything. It's I mean, they kind of do that in the director's cut, but I guess it's different. Whatever.
I imagine the effect is a little different between, say, what a off-Broadway audience would expect, since this is a show that went off-Broadway and not on Broadway, and what a movie audience in the mid-'80s would expect, particularly an audience that probably at this point is pretty familiar with Rick Moranis, Ghostbusters, or through any number of things, and likes him and is conditioned to like whichever character he's playing.
Yeah,
that is true. And also, it's the most expensive movie Warner Brothers has made at the point. They can't really just be like, oh, well, the test audience doesn't like it. Oh, it's fine. It's a little indie movie. But, like, you're putting $25 million. Yeah, you kind of gotta fix that. I am curious what everybody's preference of the original ending or the theatrical ending.
Well, I'd only seen the director's cut. This is my first time just seeing the movie proper. But I did read, like, on Wikipedia, just like that summary. I was just like, I mean, like, it having, like, the seeds of like, things could get bad again, where it's, like, you said, like, it's, like, the plant, like, it's still growing in the backyard. It's, like, I guess that's, like, not entirely compromised, but it's, like, I do kind of admire the commitment to the bleakness and everything of how things just get, like, so out of control. And, like, I mean, the restoration looks great and everything. Like all the effects of like all just like the rubble and like sort of the flexing buildings, they just like fall apart.
So many cars thrown through the air.
Yeah. And I also like it when like the train, I'm like watching like the subway train on the tracks and everything. And it's like, are they gonna like take down the train and the train's gonna crash? It's like,
no, they're gonna
the
eat
train
it.
doesn't get crashed, they get eaten. Just like go right into the monster's mouth. I liked, yeah, lots of really cool stuff there. Yeah. Michelle, what about you? What was your like? When did you see like the various cuts of this?
Well, I saw the original cut of this. I want to say when I was a teenager. I saw the director's cut around when it was released on Blu-ray. I guess my hot take is that I like both endings. I have maybe some qualms about the director's cut ending maybe going on a little too long.
There's like no editing like at all. Like
yeah. Well, I feel like there's a song playing during it that is the final song in the original show, and I think that song works better in the context of the original show where we're actually hearing the song and the lyrics, and I don't think you can hear it as well during this number where mostly you're watching this like Godzilla ending chaos. And yeah, I sort of prefer the slightly ambiguous tone of the theatrical ending, even if it is at least conceived as a happier ending. I think there's an interesting note that we can get into on that.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the idea of the original ending, but I feel like they found this footage and just like put it all in without being like, they didn't really, because with test audience they weren't able to like actually like fully edit that, because it just feels like it goes on forever. But I do like it. I feel like they could have still used it as like, be like, hey, how about we just put it in as like a dream sequence, like, or something. Like there's like so much stuff going on where you just threw it out. It seems like such a waste.
I'm not sure a dream sequence really would have worked though.
No, but if I was the people behind that, I would be like, please put this in. This is a year of my life. They're like, sorry. But I mean, it's the thing where it's like you got to kind of pick one or the other, and both of them have their advantages and disadvantages, I suppose.
It all began in this little shop.
Ow! Damn roses!
Where, strange as it seems, something extraordinary happened.
I'm afraid it isn't feeling very well today.
No, it's not bizarre.
What kind of a weirdo plant does that, Seymour?
Little Shop of Horrors, a story about a boy, a girl,
You don't make a nice voice when you live on Skid Row, Mr. Mushnick. Seymour, this is my Dave, my boyfriend.
a florist,
I'm telling you, Audrey, he's not a good, clean kind of boy.
He's a professional.
Feed me Seymour.
and a plant.
Feed me all night long.
How am I supposed to keep on feeding you?
Yes!
Rick Moranis,
Man's a total disgrace to the dental profession.
Ellen Greaves,
Excuse me.
Excuse me, what? That's better.
Vincent Gardenia, with special guest appearances by Steve Martin, John Candy, and Bill Murray.
It's your professionalism that I respect.
Little Shop of Horrors.
All right, that's all the trivia I have. Initial thoughts, Bryden, since it is your first time watch, I want to see what your initial thoughts are.
I liked this. I really think all the parts are like really well cast. I mean, Rick Moranis being cast as like a guy who doesn't really know how to stand up for himself. He plays that meekness very well, and I think he and Ellen Greene have like really sweet chemistry with each other. And I think like I like the way that Frank Oz like brings a lot of like verve to like the musical numbers to make this feel cinematic and everything. Like when it's the way he has like characters. Like it will be like he'll be following a character, sort of like like in the big duet where like it's Ellen Greene and Rick Moranis like singing about like professing their love for each other and everything. Like she's sort of like he's following her into like the foreground, and then Rick Moranis like pops back in again from like behind a wall. Then like the way like it all comes around where like they meet at the top of the fire escape, and like there's like the sunset that's like sort of covered by like the I think it's like a piece of laundry or something like that. I really liked especially the first few numbers where it's like really the chorus of like all the women who are singing, Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell Martin and who is the other performer? I don't think she's done a whole lot, but I liked all those numbers quite a bit. And also just funny, like, you know, like the little jokes that they will have and like the various sort of like differences in pitch. Like I think it's really funny when like they're having all they're like really melodic voices of all like the chorus and everything, but then like they'll have like, you know, a really gruff sounding guy who's just like sleeping on the sidewalk go like and blah, 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 blah. Like I really liked all that.
The other woman from the Greek chorus, her name is Michelle Weeks.
Thank you, Michelle Weeks. And yeah, and I thought it was cute noting that at the end of the movie, all their names, Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon, they're all like names of girl groups from the 60s. I thought that was a cute little touch. The creature design I think is really impressive, especially like, you know, when you get peeks inside its mouth and everything, it's like got like purple and blue. It does like look really gnarly. And I also like when it starts sprouting the little sort of baby Audrey tubes and everything. They have like sort of like these leaves that almost make them kind of look like they have like baby bonnets on almost. Just like all the tendrils and like, you know, sort of like it's very well thought out. I was expecting this, even with the, I guess because it's PG-13 and everything. It's funny that like even the re-rating of this, it's like, you know, comic horror violence. Most of the violence in this movie is mostly just a character getting like chomped and everything, but like there's no like, it's not like geysers of blood are being like spurted out and everything. That's not a criticism, by the way. It's just sort of a thing. It's like a guy like gets like, you know, Vincent Gardini gets like chomped and his legs are sticking out, but he's still like yelling like, "Hey, wait!" Like yeah, no, I enjoyed this. It's successful too in that like this movie is pretty arch and goofy for like I'd say the first 2/3, but then like you do get like it does I think get you invested enough in like sort of like the Moranis and Green romance that it does feel like genuinely tragic when like she does like when they don't get together, when she does get attacked by the monster. And it's cool that like they got to restore that original ending. Whether again there's merits and demerits that you can talk about with either ending or anything, but it's cool that it exists, so you get to see it in like a pretty decent looking format. So yeah, no, I enjoyed this, and and another good thing about this too is that like, you know, with a movie musical and everything, sometimes I see it, I'm like, well, these songs are nice. I'm good on listening to this just once and everything, and but there's some of these songs I might want to go back on Spotify and I'm like might want to listen to this again, which is a very important thing, I think, in a musical.
Michelle, what's your history with Little Shop? Because you'd seen it, definitely childhood, and I saw it like later in life. So,
yeah, I love this movie. For me, this is one of the last really great classic movie musicals. One where the director is really thinking about how to stage each number musically, dynamically, and. Yeah. You know, it helps that Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, who wrote all the songs together, are a really wonderful pair together with Menken's evocation of, you know, classic doo-wop and R&B and, you know, early rock music, with Ashman's very clever lyrics. Ashman, these two went on to do The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast together before Ashman's passing of AIDS in I think 91. Menken, of course, kept on working, but I don't think he ever really found a partner in songwriting quite as good as Ashman. Ashman's lyrics are just so witty and so filled with this love of B movies, of classic music, of and of an understanding of this era as. You know, I think this movie gets kind of a Circean thing going of showing us these things that people desire, whether it's Audrey's imagined suburban life and also the success that both Mushnick and Seymour want so badly and see in front of them, and how that can really poison people's lives, how that can lead them to doing terrible things or overlooking terrible things about people they love. I really am excited to talk about some of the differences that this has between both the stage musical and the original movie that I think are instructive.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I feel like I should have watched this in middle school whenever I was obsessed with Rocky Horror Picture Show, but instead I watched it in college, and like it's good, but it doesn't hit me. I don't really like any of the songs. That being said, I love Rocky Horror Picture Show, and the music is kind of very similar, so I don't know why that it doesn't connect with me. But I do just dig how physical and real everything feels, and especially I love how it very much still feels like a play and not a bad way. It's very much contained to just a few sets. And the little shop itself, I think, just looks insane. Like, it looks unbelievable. And then Audrey, too, is like, how? Like, how did y'all even begin to do that? And I think the voice of Audrey, too, is just, like, the best shit ever. Like, they got that perfectly. Let's see how long I can go without doing my Ellen Green as Audrey's impersonation through this. We're going to see how long I can do that. But Michelle, I am curious about the differences between the play and the first movie.
The first movie has a lot more characters. There, for one, you meet Seymour's mother. In this one, he's an orphan. Seymour's mother is very much a character who feels like she could be dropped right into like a John Waters movie or Spider Baby, where she's constantly sick and drunk. And there are other really curious characters. There's someone who gets tricked not by Seymour but by Mushnick into getting eaten by the plant because he sticks up the shop and tries to rob them. There's also a character played by Dick Miller, who I'm actually rather surprised isn't brought back for a cameo. Well, either Dick Miller or the character of someone who walks into the flower shops specifically to eat flowers and who gives them the advice to keep on it with Audrey too. Yeah, I think part of these omissions were conscious decisions by Ashman and Menken because they had previously done a musical based on, I want to say, a Kurt Vonnegut story that had like something like a dozen or so characters, and they decided like, let's simplify things. Let's make it so Seymour is living with Mushnick, make that relationship more of a father-son thing, which is very much in the show. They have a song called Mushnick and Son that is not reprised, that is not used in the movie. There's a couple of songs that aren't brought into the movie, but those are some of the bigger differences. I did think it was interesting how the movie, the musical that is, finds a contrasting style that feels like it's paying tribute to the more, I don't know, slapdash Corman style. It's somewhat analogous to what Burton does in Ed Wood to Ed Wood's own films, I think.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, there's just an interesting tension there.
I do like like you do sort of like how it does like sort of when Gardenia finds out that what Seymour's been doing, where it's like he's fed chopped up Steve Martin and fed him to Audrey too. You think like maybe he's gonna like maybe confront him about it, but then he's like, no, this is like a. He's like, well, I'll take care of you, but I still want the plant and everything. Like, and then I do think that's like one of the best numbers in the movie when like it's sort of the rising tension of Seymour coming to the realization is like, oh, I'm gonna have to, like, he's like making the decision to kill Gardenia, but then like you have like the singers like chanting in the background, come on, like sort of like that's like how the music sort of builds the tension there, and also how Moranis is like, he's still being very trepidatious in his body language, but he is like approaching him so he can back him up into the corner to be eaten by the monster. It's so well done.
And it's interesting because I agree it's a very well done number, but there are some key differences between how it's done in the musical, where in the stage version, you have this father-son type relationship being played up as Seymour gets more successful. But it also makes Seymour more active when he decides to actually have Mushnick killed. Right. I think there's the movie is playing very much to Moranis' essential sweetness as a performer, without necessarily taking away his culpability. I know there have been some criticisms that it makes Seymour too nice and tries to reduce how much he is guilty of, well, murder. And I don't know that I buy that, really. I mean, he's still very knowingly leading both Mushnick and Orin, even if Orin is a terrible man. to their deaths. There are also way more deaths in the original Little Shop movie, interestingly. Though the first one is like he's just throwing stones at a rail yard and hits a guy in the head and reluctantly drags him back to the shop to be eaten. And it's like, you could have just left that guy there.
Wow.
No, it's that is interesting. I think I'm with you, Michelle, that like I do buy that like the Seymour character, even though I think there is like a sweetness to him at heart and everything. I think the movie is like sort of is critiquing him for how has him being a pretty passive character does have like some pretty disastrous effects and everything. Like, you know, not really doing anything to stop Steve Martin when he like overdoses on nitrous oxide, or when I think it is funny how like his guilt does bubble. Like some of the dialogue I think is very funny when like he's like trying to like paper over his misdeeds with Ellen Green by saying like, oh, we'll like move out to the suburbs in a place with no plants whatsoever. Where it's just like him unconsciously is like, no, that's the root of like all the evil here. Yeah, no, I do think I do generally like his character and everything, but he is like kind of but like he does, there are points where he's like not. He sort of lets things go untended for too long, and like by the time he realizes how bad it is, like he can't undo it.
Yeah, ultimately, what you do or fail to do is a little more important than your intentions or your reasons for doing it.
Yeah, it is also funny to think about us, like, you know, you mentioned something about audiences liking Moranis at this time. I mean, it is funny. I mean, I know they were big movies. Well, I mean, Ghostbusters was a huge movie, but in that movie, Moranis is kind of an annoying doofus, and like Sigourney Weaver can't get away from him fast enough. And then Streets of Fire, I think that like became. That movie became appreciated later on and everything.
Yeah.
But in that movie, he's like a straight up jerk in that movie. He's like, he only cares about like making money and everything. I mean, he's very good range as an actor.
He shrunk the kids and he blew up the kid.
Yeah, and he shrunk himself. That's the only one I've seen.
Oh
yeah.
my god,
he's out of control.
I mean, I do think it's really funny. Not funny. You were right that the Steve Martin character, Stephen Martin, is very evil and everything. But I do think it's very funny when like you're hearing so much about him and you're like, oh geez, like how scary is this guy gonna be? And then you cut to like who the boyfriend is, and it's Steve Martin looking like that with like the leather jacket and the sort of goofy hair, and then revealing that his profession is that he's like a sadistic dentist. I think it's just like such a funny reveal where it's like, I mean, it doesn't like take away from like him being an evil character or anything, but it's just like those details and like that casting just are like, well, that is not what I expected it to be.
Yeah, and this is something that is taken from the original Corman movie, where there is a very mean and sadistic dentist who meets his match with a masochistic. In the movie, if I recall, the dentist is taken out shortly before Seymour has to ineptly take care of the masochistic patient, who's played by a disconcertingly young Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah, it's his first movie, right?
Yeah. Where here it's Bill Murray, who had just been taking a break from movies after getting a lot of money from Ghostbusters and having a dream project with the Razor's Edge.
The Razor's Edge. I mean, good job. But oh yeah, Bill Murray in that scene is so good. Just him screaming about wanting a candy bar. What a guy.
I do think it's interesting that Steve Martin's evil dentist character is sniffing nitrous oxide and is this rockabilly dentist the same year where there's another movie of a character sniffing nitrous oxide while wearing a leather jacket and menacing a nice guy who's maybe not such a nice guy and has a love for his girlfriend. Of course, I'm talking about Blue Velvet.
I thought it was Three Amigos. No, of course.
Absolutely, Three Amigos too.
Yeah, no, that's a very good comparison. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I will say, going back to Kevin, you're talking about the box office. Maybe this particular week that the movie was coming out was not especially remarkable, but 1986. I mean, there were some very good movies in that year. But yeah, it's also very funny. This coming out in like late December. I mean, I guess it just shows that like anything can come out at any point in any year. But it's funny to think about this movie coming out during the holiday season when people were like, "What do we go see together? The holiday gatherings, Little Shop of Horrors." I mean, I guess if it's you're seeing it in theaters with the happier ending, I guess it's not so bad. But imagine seeing this with your family, opening weekend, holiday season, have everyone together, and then the movie ends with basically the apocalypse. It's a very, very different vibe to go out on.
If it had ended with that ending?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the next week, that would have been December 26th, so that's post-Christmas, obviously. So literally, like, hey, we're going to go to the theater. We got fucking Star Trek 4, Heartbreak Ridge, or Little Shop 4. I mean, I'm surprised Three Amigos wasn't, I mean, maybe the next week, or going into Christmas, post-Christmas.
I don't know how long these movies had been out by this point.
That is true.
Yeah.
I assume that's the first week for Golden Child. I don't see Golden Child having much legs, but who's to say?
Hard to say. Eddie Murphy was the biggest star in the world at that point, just about.
Yeah. What's everyone's favorite number in this? I will say my favorite, I think, is... I'm sorry if I'm terrible with the titles. That is just because of my relatively new exposure to this. But the number where they're talking about wanting to get out of Skid Row, and it's like everyone kind of like shuffling around the city.
It's called Skid Row.
There you go. Yeah, I especially love the moment at the end when it's like Ellen Green and Rick Moranis are like, you know, you see them like moving, and you don't realize they're moving towards each other until like they meet at like the partition in the wall, like, and then like the camera cranes up and everyone's like singing together as like the song crescendos. I think that's such a wonderfully staged number. Yeah, that's my favorite.
I'm going with the titular track, or Skid Row, or I believe it's Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Yeah, Mean Green, of course, the one song that was not in the original show, fits in rather perfectly with the other songs. My favorite is also Skid Row. It's close because, you know, somewhere that's green and Suddenly Seymour both make me cry for different reasons, but Skid Row, I think, is so good at introducing you to the artifice of this world, this kind of backlot, like broken down part of the city where everyone is living in total desperation and poverty, and they can't help but sing out that they're stuck here and that they can't get out. And we get to see this connection between Audrey and Seymour, and it's both, I think it's spectacularly staged, and there's little, I'm not sure if they're imperfections or not, but like little things about it that stick out that make it more beautiful. Like, I do love that as Audrey arrives at that wall, at that dividing line, Rick Moranis gets there slightly late, and like on one hand you might expect them to arrive at the same point, but while they're making their way there, Moranis accidentally runs into someone and it breaks his stride, and it kind of makes it fit that they're a little bit out of sync, that they're not quite in line with each other yet as they are yearning for the same things. But I really do love how Somewhere That's Green allows us to see Audrey's fantasy, which is, you know, to us might not seem like much of a fantasy, like being a housewife out in the suburbs, but like there is very much a grass is always greener feeling in this movie of characters who really only know to fantasize what they've been told that they want and what is different from their already downtrodden experience.
Yeah, no, I really like that read about them being out of sync in the Skid Row number, and I also think it's interesting. I don't know if maybe this is maybe reaching or anything, but when Green and Moranis have the number where they start singing to each other and professing their love for each other, the fact that like they're surrounded by like these sort of dismantled brick walls and everything, almost kind of like they're parts of like houses that are now no longer there, as also like their lives are sort of coming apart, where, you know, Green has lost the boyfriend who was abusive to her but was someone that she still had a connection to, or felt connected to, and then Moranis is sort of like beginning this dark descent into working with a murder plant. You know, it's like it's interesting how it's like almost kind of like them talking like it's sort of like against the background of like wrecked homes is sort of like a rhyming or like an inverse of like Green's fantasy of like the home life that she wants to have, and where Seymour is there with her. I just think that's interesting.
Right, and these are also songs that I think have a special resonance, that kind of yearning for something that you're not sure is possible has a special resonance for queer viewers. Ashman himself was a gay man. And it's definitely a show that I think takes on greater resonance. Though obviously Green and Audrey in this movie are not trans, but the character has been played by a trans woman on a few different occasions. Once by Jinx Monsoon and once by I'm forgetting MJ Rodriguez, who was on, I believe, the TV show Pose.
Okay.
But I also do love how suddenly Seymour, with that whole backdrop, those crumbling walls, those artificial walls, it does sort of reinforce how their connection might feel very real, but there is also a kind of tension there because Moranis is positioning himself as so much the opposite of this Steve Martin character who is just fed to a plant.
Yeah.
Right.
And Moranis even
guy, but
and Moranis even like says like, you know, it's like, oh wow, I'm sure there are a lot of nice guys who would like to have you, Audrey, and everything. And it's just like, ooh, there's a phrase that like that has maybe a bit of a different meaning now.
Yeah, which is something that I know the show is very much playing with and kind of wants that tension between this is maybe a well-meaning character, but he's done very terrible things and has let what he wants blind him. And I do think that is present here, even as they do sweeten the Moranis character a bit.
Yeah.
Did any of y'all notice Sebastian Bach in the Skid Row number? Did y'all see that? It's the best I got, I'm sorry. It's so interesting that it just has such a tale before it even becomes a big movie that becomes so beloved. I assume they still do these productions constantly. Very interested in hearing that Ellen Green's part has been played by trans actors, where I could see her performance. First, I see like drag queens probably being drawn to that performance because the over the topness and that voice, which I have not done an impersonation of yet. Just saying. But yeah, she's my favorite because I'm just like, what is she doing? I love it because there's nobody who's ever played a character like this, and I love it so much.
It's great because it's somewhat inspired by the character in the Corman movie, but that character is not especially fleshed out beyond love interest for a doomed hero, or doomed protagonist anyway, where this version definitely plays up the more tragic elements, or at least the more troubled elements of what awaits a character in this environment.
Yeah, the detail I really like about Green's performance is like the voice is very impressively maintained, but I also like in that big number where she and Seymour are where she and Moranis are singing to each other. Like when she does sort of start belting out the lyrics and everything, her voice does like change a little. It changes registers and everything.
Full.
Yeah, I love that about it.
This character who has been holding so much back and who has only been able to express so much in these solo musical numbers where she's not interacting with these other people. Finally, she finds someone else and her voice is so full.
Yeah, it's lovely. One question I have, also because we talked about the different cuts of this, and I mentioned this to Kevin, and it was one of those things where I was just like, but I felt like I was zoned out of the movie and everything, where I looked up the cast list and saw Jim Belushi is in this movie, and I'm like, I don't know how, I'm like, I must have zoned out or anything, but I saw it was Jim Belushi was recast into Paul Dooley role as like the guy who's like who's trying to like, you know, franchise the plant and everything. With you having seen both cuts, Michelle, which do you? I mean, it's such a small performance, but like, which do you prefer, Belushi or Dooley in the? Yeah.
You know, I rewatched the theatrical cut for this, and then tracked down the director's cut ending and a couple of different scenes. I forgot to watch the Paul Dooley scene, or else couldn't turn it up, so I can't answer this.
Gotcha. Dooley, I think, is funny in his one scene. I mean, I like
love him in general, though I do think Jim Belushi fits the theatrical version well enough. Yeah, I do maybe want to talk about highlights of the two different endings. We talked a little bit about why the director's cut ending maybe goes on a little long, but I do think it has some real strengths, particularly in, you know, the reprise of Somewhere That's Green as Audrey is dying and sacrificing herself, saying like, feed me to the planet and I'll always be with you. Like, that is like such a real tearjerker moment in both the original stage show and the director's cut of the movie, that it is kind of hard to imagine it without it. But then again, I do love the theatrical ending. I do like how they play it as these two do find each other. They do have a possibility of something happening in the future, but there is that little note, that little thing with the plant at the end that maybe it's not all over, which once again reminds me a little bit of the ending of Blue Velvet, of like there's one bug gone, but are they all gone? Is it all better? Is Dorothy really fine? Are Audrey and Seymour really fine? I don't know, and that's I think why I have a slight preference for that ending, that it does have that question mark there. Though I
Yeah.
suppose the director's cut does literally end with some question marks at the end.
Several. Yeah. Oh, that is interesting because the first thing I saw when Audrey and Seymour go off to their house, and it's a picket fence, and it's like the colors are turned up all the way, where it's just like so fantastical.
Yes, it's exactly what Audrey envisioned, and what exactly the reality of that is going to be, hard to say.
I think I've said everything I need to say about this, but no, I'm glad I finally got to catch up with this. This has been on my list for many years. So it's fun to watch it, and yeah, I'll definitely have to. I usually make playlists at the end of our miniseries for songs featured in the movies that we've covered for whatever miniseries, and I will definitely be featuring some tracks from this in the playlist, which will be fun to re-listen to.
I mean, yeah, that's just a layup. Because how many songs from the Butcher Boy are you putting on that playlist?
Like maybe 3.
Is there 3 songs in the Butcher Boy?
There's like Frank Sinatra song I think they play a couple of times, and they play I think it's like Santo and Johnny song at the start and end, and then there's like I'm trying to remember, there's like one other, but also there I couldn't find them on Spotify, but like there's a couple, I think like Sinead O'Connor has a couple of songs in the movie in addition to being in that movie too, but not on Spotify. So
The movie I desperately need to revisit. I haven't seen it in 20 years. I've meant to rewatch a good number of Neil Jordan's films, to be honest.
I appreciated it, but it is also a movie that I found to be quite tough to endure, but rewarding in the end. But like still, just like some very grim subject matter. But yeah, no, I will definitely be.
Sorry, I admired it very much 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I will be talking about Neil Jordan a couple more times in this miniseries. Michael Collins, An Interview with the Vampire, awaits.
Everybody, stand up and applaud for Michael Collins.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description